Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. Alright guys, on this episode of Bullet Points, we have got to dive into an article I found on the Daily Beast. Now, this article is praising the San Jose mayor, Sam Liccardo, for his common sense approach to gun fees, gun-mandated insurance, and violating the Second Amendment, because it makes common sense. Now, you guys know as well as I do, they will throw anything, the leftists, on the altar of common sense for public safety. The only problem is it violates a few very key things in the Constitution, such as the right to bear arms. I'm going to go into this in a second because this does not affect individuals who have the means to do so. This affects the people who need it the most. And it just so happens the very people that the leftists they claim to represent are the ones that hurt most by these types of actions. Let's dive into it. Everything is in the description box below. I want to hear from you guys on this. Let's get it. Let's talk about this article. And I can't wait. Congress can't bring sanity to gun laws. Here's who can. Guns are more dangerous than cars. That's why it's time to require insurance for firearms. So right there, you're seeing the comparison between cars and firearms. That's what they're going to do. That's exactly what their angle is here. And they're trying to do it nationwide, but it's going to fail. It's blatantly unconstitutional, and I'm going to go into that in 1 second. Washington outdoes itself on a daily basis with its paralysis and dysfunction. That's why local governments will be wise to follow the maxim, if you want something done, do it yourself. I agree with that one little point. I personally like the fact that states can make individual decisions, not the federal government. I personally kind of like that. I don't agree with the direction they're doing it and how they're using it, but I do agree with that basic principle. But local governments could provide the national blueprint for meaningful gun reform, and San Jose is showing the way. Yeah, look what they're doing. Liccardo set about to treat guns the way we do cars. An automobile can be deadly, but it's not the reason it's built. And yet, because cars can pose a danger to others, they are highly regulated as a matter of public safety and without much fuss. The reason there's not a lot of fuss is because that is a privilege, not a right. A privilege brought about by a open, free market based on capitalism, not a command and control economy where the government controls every little nuance to keep you safe. Any quotes from Ben Franklin kind of ringing in your head right now? The whole point here is, the whole point here is the government is not there to mandate our safety across the board. The government is there to protect our rights and hold itself at bay. That's why we have the Constitution. That's why we have the Bill of Rights, to tell the government to simmer down. The Second Amendment cannot be infringed, and it is a right. There's a slight difference between a luxury item and a right. Just because the left is so used to saying, well, everyone has cars, and they don't understand that throughout vast amounts of history, the American people, all sorts of people throughout all the human history had no wealth. But because of our country and our ideals, we do have wealth and we can afford privileges. They're just looking at privileges as a right. Shocker. Entitlement. Anyway, let's keep going. Car owners are required to pay a substantial tax at the point of purchase. They must also register their vehicles annually and carry insurance for any damage to life and property. Liccardo, mayor of San Jose, displaying common sense, talked up the parallels between the two products and the need to do whatever can be done to make the city safer. Whatever can be done. Rights be damned. It does not matter. Your rights are not as important as safety. The government will take care of you because we are a command and control system. False. He pre-butted the constitutional argument to come. While the Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms, it does not require taxpayers to subsidize it. And this is the part that's really kind of asinine. The left does this thing with anything that they don't like. It's about, well, you do have the right to bear arms, but you can't have the magazine with more than 10 rounds in it. Because that's not about have the right to bear arms, because you have the arm. It's just the magazine. You can't really have that in the same place as your magazine while you're in a car. You have to have safe storage laws. Oh, and if someone says something bad about you, we can take those, but you still have your Second Amendment rights. We can just revoke them at any time. This little game that they play, and it always backfires because the left purports itself to say, we're for the little people, we're for the minority, the downtrodden, the people that are the victim of the system. However, in their systematic approaches here, they completely isolate everyone that they say is marginalized because they make it outside of their financial means to do so. And that's where it's going to break down and it's unconstitutional. If you've got something like this, which is a tax and a fee to take part in a right that is given in the Bill of Rights, you're discriminating against those who cannot afford it. Just so happens the people who can't afford it are the ones who need it the most because they live in the downtrodden areas. Even in your own talking points, you understand that. But in this case, because of common sense and safety, the government will take care of you. You don't need that right, even if you can't afford it. They do a very similar thing with cars in California. Well, you got to have certain emissions. You can't have something that's putting out carbons, because if you put out carbons, then you're going to kill everybody. So for public safety, you can't really have that car that costs $2,000, which would allow you to get to a job. You need to go into debt and buy a car that has proper emissions, or get on our city-provided buses that have proper emissions, even though the bus schedules don't work with your schedule and your life to provide for your family. You see what they do? They impose false standards to hurt people overall, and the ones that they hurt are the very people they're purporting to help. A little bit of a soapbox, but that's a thing. Liccardo has shown that more can be done. Something meaningful rather than cosmetic. If other mayors across America take notice, they can implement the kind of sensible gun reform that Congress is too cowed by the NRA to even consider. The reason Congress hasn't done this is because it's unconstitutional. Flat out. To kind of recap the bullet point here, you're imposing a tax on a constitutional right, predisposing certain people to be able to afford it and certain people not to be able to afford it. This is going to be struck down like that. But they don't care about that. They care about the common sense and the safety and the gun control. Funny how they don't have other standards for the same things in their camp, isn't it? That's what I've got for you guys this morning. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you at the 9 p.m. segment tonight. This is Braden signing out.